Diablo 4 Early Access and Open Beta has come and gone, and I wanted to wait before giving my overall take of the game as I wanted to try out all classes. Did I think the game was good? Yes. Do I think it can be better? Yes. So Diablo, let's talk.
This audience is concluded.
Diablo 4 Early Access saw with it 3 classes we could play, the Rogue, Barbarian, and Sorcerer, and each classes themselves felt unique and independent of each other, from the Rogue specialties to the Barbarian's arsenal system. They each provided a unique take on strengths. Even the Sorcerer's class, who I usually think can be a bit squishy in combat, proved to be powerful and formidable class that when spec'd properly can be detrimental on the battlefield without even having to move a single muscle. Each had their own strengths and weaknesses, but overall all 3 of these classes proved to be pretty diverse in style of combat. Only issue I had with these classes was primarily the Barbarian class, and that's only due to the fact that they are a bit slower to start and feel more cumbersome than powerful. But as you progress, Barbarians usually become very powerful and can leave devastation on the battlefield. The Open Beta introduced the Necromancer and Druid class, and these are 2 classes that are completely different from one another. First and foremost, Necromancer. You explored corpses and deal tremendous AoE damage. You can lash out at enemies from afar and close up. You can deal massive damage with exploding bone ghosts. You can turn into mist of blood and leech life. You can have a herald of undead friends along for the fight plus much more. Honestly, regardless of what build you decide to cover, Necromancers are damn powerful and feel near unstoppable and will be something that the devs need to look at closer to release. And then there's the Druid. I didn't cover multiple builds with this one, however, held the Werewolf primary build. At first, the Druid is very slow, and does not feel as impactful as the remainder of the classes. As a matter of fact, I think Druid was my least favorite of all the classes for the mere fact that they felt so underwhelming. In the end, yes, I could clear mobs, but I always felt as if I was spamming the potion hotkey, and always felt that I was out of spirit regardless of how often or how effective I recharged it. It just didn't feel like a well-rounded class. But I'll get into that in other classes and other videos, as this is just a video where we discuss the overall feel for Diablo. Overall, Diablo 4 feels like a very different Diablo game. This is not a one-way story progression game anymore, where you enter an area, you clear it out, and you move on. You now have an entire landmass of sanctuary at your feet, and you can traverse anywhere from areas that are level 5 requirement to level 35 plus. Just be careful not to get slapped to death with one hit. But that shows you the clear freedom of the game. It's open world. Yes, there are still walls that direct you to the next section, but those walls make sense, from cliff edges to rock walls to areas where technically you shouldn't be able to traverse. The world makes sense and builds for us a massive landmass in which we'll get to discover and get to know as we near the June release. But with the introduction of the first region and gameplay, there are some general pros and cons to take note of if you played or not. First, the pros. The game visually looks fantastic. The open world changes the Diablo feel and makes it worthwhile to discover and explore with hidden gems such as the Altars of Lilith, which by the way, if you find, make a huge difference to all your characters. The cutscenes, whether small or more illustrious, are the game changer in my opinion, and put your character right in the center of the world. The story concept so far is deep and filled with lore that connects the entire Diablo franchise. Some classes are unique and feel powerful as you progress in leveling. The additions of the world bosses bring a different challenge and transitions Diablo into a more MMO feel, not to mention that the difficulty in them was extremely enjoyable and provided that extra sense of challenge you look for. However, there are some scaling issues with world bosses in which I'm not a fan of. For example, if you're solo and high level with good quick high DPS, you can beat it. That's a bit of a letdown for me, considering the world boss appears to scale with the amount of people fighting it. And the final pro is cross-platform integration, plus the cross-platform progression, meaning I can play on Xbox or PlayStation and progress the same character on PC. So that's a big plus right there for a lot of people. But now, here are some cons that become pretty apparent as we played Act 1. One of the biggest issues is lack of customization when it comes to the skill tree. There's not much variety. Even with a level 25 max, you're already near the ending of the skill tree and have a build already set up. And the variety of builds is limited, which don't give you much play or longevity to try new characters. Not to mention that based on the details we know, the Paragon boards won't add a variety of new skills and abilities, exempting a few rare traits and a legendary skill per board. So again, this isn't as deep of a skill tree we were anticipating. Now don't think I'm looking for PoE style of skill tree, hell no, but I was anticipating a bit more to it. Skills only have 2 additional benefits you can add and very little passive skills, but one big issue that was presented was that if you want to change your build, it would be cheaper and better just to start a new character based on the developers. That right there is a bit of a concern. You can refund skills, but the more you do that and the higher level you are, the more expensive it gets, and money in the game is already tight as it is. So that's another issue that really wasn't fun to hear. But the skill tree in general is my primary main concern for the game. Now I know the past Diablo games didn't have a vast skill tree either, but being as this is a more MMO transition, I was kind of hoping for a bit more depth in the trees with variety of builds we can experiment with. Some other issues were that legendary drops were way too frequent and eventually didn't feel special. Now this could simply be that the legendary items were increased for the betas, which makes sense, but I would like to see this turned down dramatically. The crafting system is very linear and doesn't really delve too deep. Collect and spend is primarily the feel with it, nothing drove me to find specific items, but one thing that really annoys me was no overlap map. Throughout the Diablo franchise, we always had the overlap map in game, and this time we just have the side map and the main one which we need to open a different window with. I know some may not care, but for us long-term Diablo players that use those maps throughout the game, I think it's an unfortunate circumstance that it was removed. Dungeons and world events began to feel repetitive. Even though we know dungeons are procedurally generated, after a while they seem to be the same thing over and over again. The appeal to dive into them faded after heading into the 4th one and seeing similar traits to other dungeons done before. Now, take into consideration that we only experienced Fractured Peak dungeons, and I'm expecting more design changes, different objectives, and monster types as we visit other regions of the map. But similarities have already been found in dungeons, and this is not even completing all of them. The only draw in dungeons was the Codex of Power you would get when completing it. Once you did that, the Codex became available to all characters, and redoing those dungeons just had no rhyme or purpose other than farming loot and XP. But take into consideration, this is just one area that we explored. Dungeons can be dramatically different as we progress through the game. Similar concept also goes for the world events, mainly the ones you randomly find. I found a variety of 4 different ones. Find a ghost and protect them as they look for skeletons, which by the way was the damn same thing every time. You left me alone! Like, what the f***? Protect carriages that house people underneath them. You could just literally get out and run. Sacrifice blood in specific spots, or kill off the summoning monsters that are making one larger monster immune. These were the primary 4 I kept finding. Again, there is a lack of different events, and eventually this is the same thing we're going to find over and over again. It's not going to feel special to completing them. That is, unless you're hungry for opals, then by all means, walk the ghost boy around. Inventory also became a big concern. Yes, finding gems was fantastic for the purpose of upgrading your gear, but they eventually started taking up a lot of room. I personally really love the D2 inventory system where 1 gem took up 1 spot. Some weapons were much larger in comparison to others, and also we had health potions we carried around. I personally don't like the health potion mechanic in Diablo 4 and Diablo 3. I find it lazier than anything. You have X charges in health. Why? Why not just have us find different tiers of health potions, keep them on us under the consumables tab, and let us heal with those? I always enjoyed managing potions because it was the needed resource and had to find a way to keep them and use them. This rechargeable potion mechanic just take that concept away, as if we have a magical bag with 4 to 5 specific spots of potions and nothing more. Don't even think about it. But yes, I do believe potions should be a thing, and put them under the consumable tab, and I believe the gems should also have their own tab in the inventory as they take up way too much room in the main inventory. One of my last concerns is the UI. Now I'm not going to completely say it sucks and that it's the worst thing in the world. Carrot Top takes that cake. But for an MMO type of game, you do want to add a bit more customization to the UI. I personally gotta give credit to Final Fantasy XIV Online, as they have a fantastic UI customization layout that allows you to fully customize how you want everything to look. Now, should Diablo get into that much detail? No. but having the ability to split the existing UI and add skills somewhere else on the screen and have the health and status bar bubbles independently placed will give the player a much more adaptable playstyle, as they can change how they want everything laid out. It's not a huge requirement, but definitely a nice to have, especially with Diablo transitioning to a more MMO style of concept game, and you know you'll have the hardcore players that want to maximize everything. On the other hand, this isn't a huge disappointment. It was still easy to use, and I understood where what was where. Exempting the summoning counter for the Necromancer, that took a second to find. But regardless, UI changes would be nice for us to control, not really a requirement. Now, take these with all grain of salt. I'm not bad-mouthing the game in any way. I still enjoyed it, I still enjoyed all the classes, well, some of the classes, and have pre-ordered mine for June. But these are a few things I believe should be considered. Not everyone will feel the same way, and I don't blame others for thinking nothing's wrong with the game. But there are some things already in place that question the longevity of the game. Regardless of my pros and cons, I want to hear yours. What did you enjoy, and what did you not enjoy if you either played or watched someone play? Let me know in the comment section below. We'll be creating more Diablo 4 content in this channel, and maybe even diving into other ARPG games. Now please may know my schedule may be a little bit all over the place. I do have a newborn, and it takes quite a bit of time. If you're enjoying, please consider leaving a like and comment, as it helps tremendously, and a sub to the channel because you're fantastic and want to spread the love. Also check out this video right here where I showcase my melee rogue build from early access, and if you want your name on the credits, or just to get videos 24 hours earlier, consider supporting me on Patreon. Thank you for watching, and see you in Sanctuary.